All right, everybody. This is Running with War back at it. Oh, Josh said he was going to be late, but he winds up being right on time. We are live here on War on YouTube and War Media and everything on a joyous day to be a Bulls fan and probably joyous day overall to be an NBA fan. This was a pretty fun day, and I'm a start it off pretty with a pleasant surprise here. We got a big guest here opening our show. The one and only Kendrick Perkins is on with us. And Kendrick, man, what do you got to say about this big deal that the Bulls made today? Okay. All right. We'll get back to to him in a little while.
Come on,
but
man.
he got a little trouble with Vucevic. You know, we all got to start practicing the word that Vucevic. That's the name of the new star.
Actually, it might be Vucevic.
That's the name of
Vucevic.
Vucevic. Like Vucevic.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Vucevic. See, now it's starting to sound like Kendrick. It's not Vucevic. There's no B in it, so don't call the man out his name.
Vucevic.
That's what I'm saying. It's a CH.
Yeah, it's a double. It's the two. Yeah, you got two Uchas.
Or just stick to Vooch.
Between him and see, now I'm about to mess her name up. What's my lady's name that just returned to the sky? Help me out, Chris, because I don't want to mess her name up.
Wait, hold on. Stu Do.
There you go.
It's just Do. Yeah, it's just Do. A student Do.
A student Do.
We're in the national city, man. We should be able to deal with these names, man. But
we got
Chicago.
I got every Polish name down. Every possible Polish name down. If you go outside of Poland, right. I'm messed up. And Nigeria. I got Nigerian name.
We know about some Eastern European names in Chicago, man. So it's but we got a new star here in the city, a new basketball star, Nikola Vucevic is the newest. Headlines a big haul of players that the Bulls picked up today in the trade deadline and the waning hours, and it's a lot. It's really a lot in general, but I think about just what yesterday was like, what last night was like, and the Bulls had this horrible performance against Cleveland. Cleveland didn't even have all its best players out there. They were stripped down. They come out with a bad effort, just overall. Nothing was there, and I don't think that was some tipping point. I guess things were probably in motion well before that game, but it's amazing to me just how it seemed like you have this low point immediate at this immediate low point, and then not even 12 hours later, like you're talking about one of the most momentous runs of news that the team has had. Really, I mean, how has it been a better time to be a Bulls fan since 2015? I go back to like when they were in the playoffs and they tested, Cleveland that year, and you had the
year they should have won.
Huh?
The year they should have won.
The year they should have won.
The year that the refs gave LeBron that timeout.
Yeah, all that. But even after being hosed in the playoffs, there was talk about Carmelo coming on. And that got through a lot of that summer. But once that fell apart, though, it seemed like everything started to happen negatively. It was a negative momentum from then on. The next year, Rose gets traded. Then they try the 3 alphas thing. That doesn't work. Then Jimmy gets traded. And then, the Bulls are just stuck in one of the worst periods of the franchise's history. And, it takes a complete turnover of the front office. We get that turnover last year with AK and the newly christened Acme. That was what I've been seeing online now.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, AK and ME, Mark Eversley and Carnosovis. Like they come in, but they, preach patience. And not a lot happens over the past, over the extended off season that we got in 2020. Beyond picking up P. Will, a couple of veterans, but nothing big happens, no trades. But today, look at how many players that were such a big deal within the latter years of Gar Pax have gone. Wendell Carter Jr., Hutchinson was a first round pick. Who else was traded to? I mean, like, it's wild. Like Otto Porter Jr. was one of the biggest trades that they've made. It's really impressive to me just how clear-headed and how steely focused AK and Eversley have been in pulling off these moves. They did it without any type of projection on their part, any type of leakage or anything from the front office. If this would have happened with the last regime, they would have telegraphed themselves so badly. They probably would have gave up any leverage they had and wound up giving up Levine for the 12th player on the Magic's bench or something, and those two potential first round picks. But it's a new day. This is really the day where we get to see how things have changed. If you didn't believe it before the day, you have to believe it at this moment. The Bulls are a new franchise. They are ready and willing and possibly able. We don't know if they're completely able yet, but they are willing, and they're going to make the moves to make this team a winner again, a real winner. And, with them being just 3 games out of the 4th spot in the East, even though they're losing. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The 4th spot?
Yeah. Even with that losing record, they are just 3 games out.
That's real bad, man.
I don't know. But that's what it is, though. We like again, going back to yesterday, I was completely fine with them just. I was looking up lottery projections last night. I was like, look, there's a couple of kids who talked about they were coming out, and reports came out of one kid from North Carolina, a big man coming out. And there was another kid that was interested me too. But like, I was just looking at some of these big men who were coming out into the draft. Was like, okay, maybe that could be a nice pickup for the Bulls in the mid to early first round. But now it's like, for multiple reasons, it's kind of playoffs or bust now. We'll talk more about that later. But just as I wrap up my overall reaction, like, it's an amazing day. Like I said, it's been a long day coming that we had feelings like be able to feel like this type of energy and positivity as Bulls fans. And, I just can't wait to see these new players and playing in the United Center, playing in the Bulls red. I think, they're, for better or worse, they're a playoff team now, and they should, let's see what they can do. Like, what you guys think?
I mean, I agree. I agree. They made moves when we are so used to the Bulls not making moves at this point in time in the year and watching everything happen. And they were good. I feel bad because I really wanted Wendell to be everything that he could have been, and he just wasn't. I don't know if he got hit with the residual Boylan effect, or if the injuries kind of took him out of what his projected path was. But I'm sad that he didn't work out. I like that kid. I just genuinely like him. But getting back Vucevic, like I was talking to a friend of mine, he's been good for 5-6 years now. And remember when he came in the league, he and Lavoy Allen were the two guys in Philadelphia that they let go. It was part of a trade. I can't remember who they got back, but they let Vucevic go to Orlando. And I thought that both of them were going to be good. Lavoy Allen ended up going to Indiana and kind of fizzling out. But Vucevic was nice before the NBA really migrated towards the perimeter and the basket. So he's just added this three-point shot the last couple of seasons. And pretty much since he started incorporating into his usual offensive repertoire, he's been hitting at a nice clip. He still gets rebounds. He still puts up points. He still protects the rim. So no matter what, getting Vucevic is a good pickup. They had to give away 2 future firsts to do it. And it kind of remains to be seen what these next drafts look like with coronavirus, with college teams losing games, with other leagues possibly hanging in the balance overseas. So as my friend Jordan said, the next few drafts might not mean that much in terms of giving those picks away. But it remains to be seen. But getting Vucevic back already
and those are
light years better than what we've seen the Bulls do. Like Ricky said, the last 2 players that they've gotten in 12 years to actually improve the team are Otto Porter and John Solomons. So
right.
this establishes them as a, like you said, a new team.
Hey man, I gotta put some respect on John Solomons' name, man.
I'm just saying I said it like that because it was so long ago.
Solomons was nice, yeah, but right quick. Yeah, you're right. The distance. Yeah, Solomons was nice though, but for me, that's sort of worry about the picks. If the Bulls are up and worried about being in the top 4 again in the draft, then something's gone wrong. They're horribly wrong beyond their efforts they've made today. So I if the Bulls are in the low teens or early 20s or low, even lower than that in the draft, who cares about those picks really?
No, that's true. I mean, real G's moving sounds like lasagna, right? This is what Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley have stated from the beginning about how they wanted to do those things. And we saw how strategic they were when they was firing Jim Boylan. Saw them how strategic they were when they was going through the draft process. It's kind of something serious, and you see the effects of what it means to be strategic, and go from there to get the talent that you want to get. That's pretty much all what it really boiled down to. And for them to do that as strategically as they did, man, it's a great day to be, like Kyle mentioned, it's a great day to be a Bulls fan. We got quality talent that's good in their primes right now to pair up with Zach LaVine, and on top of that, if you may not have the cap space after this offseason now to go out and get a big free agent, but you at least create a culture that's attractive to the city and to free agents on the outside looking in. And that was always been the struggle for the Bulls within the Gar Pax era. Now that's changing. And a lot of regular talented players with superstars are really noticing that change. So it may be a benefit, maybe not next year, but even the year after, when you talk about more big time, talent potentially being on the market, you're going to look at Chicago and be like, this may be a place I want to come and really spend prime years of my career thriving in. And that's something that the Bulls have lacked for years. So if anything, I'm glad that it's not just happening now, but it helps shape the Bulls to better in the future from a free agent perspective, from a more talent perspective, and as an actual place for people and top tier talent in general to actually come to the city and want to play for a franchise that rightfully deserves to be in the upper echelons of talent all throughout the league.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, this move was like the ultimate bait and switch, man, out of left field. Like I'm sitting there waiting for news about Larry Markkinen and Lonzo Ball and possibly Steven Adams, and I get a text, or I'm looking at Twitter and I'm seeing Vucevic. I'm like, are you serious? Wow. I couldn't believe it. And it jives well with all the changes that have been going on when they switched up the starting lineup and they infused Thad and Saddle into the starting lineup, and kind of just, playing up to the fact that Zach has played much better. This team has looked much better when he's surrounded by veterans. I think it proves that they're going to max or get close to maxing Zach LaVine, and they're gonna ride him in his development, which we were unsure of if they were gonna do that before the season started. We didn't know, other than Patrick Williams, we didn't know who they would kind of hitch themselves to, so to speak. So it's all good, man. I know that some fans are still a little upset about Larry still being here and our need to get somebody to connect it all together in terms of a point guard, but we're still better now than we were at this time yesterday, and that has to make Bulls fans everywhere happy. I'm not, as you guys pointed out, I'm not that upset at all about losing those draft picks, because if you are going to go all in with Zach LaVine, you don't really have time to wait for these young guys. If you were to try to go about bettering your team through the draft, you have to act now. Josh, like you said, having two bona fide all-stars, two legitimate scoring threats, all three levels, like not a whole lot of teams have that. And that's got to be attractive to free agents come this summer and next.
Yeah, sorry, all right, guys. I was trying to get in. AK is doing a conference right now, so I was thinking it's streaming live here on YouTube. Let me see. Add that. Oh, this thing is acting up. Can you hear it decent?
I'm not really hearing anything. It's kind of background noise. Children of the ghetto. I will say one thing. It's the Bulls got to get wins off this.
It may not come into the mic as well as I am.
They've made the moves for the personnel that they can turn into W's. So they got to
anyway. That stream. That stream is available on. But go ahead, Chris. What you said? You think it should turn into wins right away?
Yeah, pretty much. They've gotten the personnel that they need to get to the playoffs this year, right? That's what we've all seen. Just by Vucevic alone is a major upgrade. You've got Zach, who's an all-star. You got Kobe, who still hasn't reached his ceiling yet. We pretty much know what he can do, but he's an asset for you, right? So you have a team with a better rotation. You get back a guy in Daniel Tice, who we haven't talked about yet, who's a quality piece, and a coach like Donovan should be able to utilize him well. So you got to get to the playoffs. That's what all these steps happen in sequence, right? Before we get to getting other free agents, before we get to swinging for the fences, you got to win. You got to show you can win, make the playoffs. And if you want to keep Vucevic around, which I suggest that they try to sign him, the Bulls have to show that they can keep guys like that who are established stars before, again, they can look to free agency and swinging at some of those names that come out, like Jokic I've seen tossed around.
I'll push back a little bit on that. I think while the team is improved, certainly, and I think they're improved not only skill wise, but and you could say they're improved as tougher as well. I think there may be still some issues in regards to team defense and just overall. There may be some overall issues in regards to just getting together as a team right away and rotational issues and stuff like that. Who's going to play where? Who's going to play best next to who? There's been some talk already about Laurie and him being better as a star coming off the bench. And then there's a possibility he could do either or, but how would that affect him given, the fact that he has a future that he sees of himself, as a starter. I mean, there's egos that are involved as well too. With all that said, I really personally, I'm not going to put too much pressure on the remainder of this year. They should make the playoffs again because the East is not very tough from 4 down.
You can say it.
You
can say it.
Yeah, they're not. The East is pretty trash. But at the same time, when you look at we'll go around the league. You look at a Miami. Miami's probably going to get that 4 spot now. So really, you look at 5 down now, and it's like, okay, if the Bulls somehow get into the 5 spot, that's great. But you're probably looking at getting knocked out by that number 4 Miami team, or who else may be in that spot? I guess probably they'd probably be Miami because the top 3 looks like it's pretty locked. But anyway, I just like I said, the Bulls are not a Eastern Conference contender like that yet, so I'm not putting too much pressure on the remainder of this season. And I know, and knowing that Vucevic is held up contract is a good thing. So you don't have to. That's that piece you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about Zach in the immediate future, but that is something that you want to get ahead of. So, if the Bulls can come into next season with both of those players pretty much locked down and satisfied, then you got the core that you want going forward anyway. And we know that AK and Mark Eversley is going to do the things that they feel needs to be done to have the team be the best that it can be, to give Donovan the team that he wants going into next season. So that's really where I think you step up the pressure with this team. But right now, I will give them a little bit of leeway in that case because they did a lot of change to the roster today. We can't underscore that. They changed a lot today. So,
And to your point, with that change, there's a change in roles that probably has to happen. And though Donovan has a much better roster at his disposal, he's got some decisions to make.
Right.
Because I don't think you can put Laurie in the starting lineup with Vooch. I just think I know Vucevic gives you a little bit more rim protection, or a lot more rim protection than Laurie would, but having both of those guys out there, I think puts you at a disadvantage right off the bat, just in terms of that side of the ball. I think you're better off starting Thad. And then also, but then the other point of that is if you keep Laurie on the bench, now he's coming in likely with Kobe, unless you find a way to stagger his minutes with Sato. who is the guard that kind of he operates the best with. Everybody else, I want to say, the numbers just aren't there for him. Those advanced type metrics. So I mean, it's some decisions that have to be made. If Pat's going to stay in the starting lineup, now he just kind of thrust more into that 3 spot, which I get he's been playing more so on the defensive end. But now he's going to be asked to do maybe a little bit more on offense, just in terms of maybe catching and shooting from the arc, maybe the corners, playing off of Vucevic and Levine.
I mean, yeah, those are good points. And I think at the same time, too, we got to think sort of the long picture term, right? When they made this move with Vucevic, knowing that his contract is now more of a team-friendly contract, it opens up that door for them to sign Zach LaVine to that max contract. So because of that, I think it's trending on Twitter right now with the press conference. One of the first things he said was he wants to make this city a free agent destination that's based on winning. You don't do that unless you have the right contracts with the right talent that goes with those contracts. Vucevic provides that. And having that with Zach LaVine, that's a deadly duo combination, especially on the offensive end, that is going to be very tough and difficult to guard because of the versatility that both of those players can bring. And to your point, Drew, Lauri Markkanen, that's not going to be a good fit. And honestly, that's why a lot of people thought he was going to be traded today because of that, the fact that he doesn't work well with Vucevic on the court at the same time. So, there's going to have to be an adjustment. Lauri's going to have to be willing to make that change because that change is going to come, especially since he didn't get his contract extension. It's a contract year for him that he's trying to prove. And on top of that, he has been able to stay healthy for a full season. So he has a lot to prove and move on the table. Maybe him going to the bench will help boost that characteristic personnel that he needs to help him move forward in the way that he needs to move forward. It may actually be a blessing in disguise for him. But at the same time, you got to be able to have that confidence within yourself to believe that. That's part of why the Bulls made so many trades today. The toughness component, right? The mental capacity of things. That's why they got rid of Wendell. Most of the players that they traded were mentally weak, or they could not handle the transitions that were taking place, and they knew that. So they said if they want to win, they have to change the environment, and that's what led to the moves that they made today. They brought in a lot of tough guys, not just physically but mentally. So it's a good change for the Bulls. It's exciting for the Bulls. But and it opens up a nice door for the future, especially now that you have two for sure all-stars in their prime, locked in, or at least increased chances of having them both locked in long term. But I just can't harp enough this free agent component, or this idea now that people are going to want to come to Chicago now because of the moves that are being made. Yes, it's going to take time for the Bulls to gel, get the chemistry. Hopefully they'll make the playoffs and be a good spot in the playoffs so they can make some noise. But after this season, I think is where the real change is going to begin. That's where the real shifting is going to take place because people are going to look at this franchise and realize, okay, the Bulls are for real now. They may not be winning at the rate that they want to, but the culture is being developed there. The coaching staff is there. The front office is there. The respect factor as a whole is there. So that's a lot, and that's something that free agents and people even that want to be traded or want to go to this team from another team. That's something that they're going to consider, and the fact that we have that is something that we've lacked for years. And I'm just glad that change has taken place.
Speaking though to the edge, the hopefully what will be a newly revived competitive edge, a newly revived toughness with the team with these moves. And I want to shout out Troy Brown Jr. as well that's a pickup I like today, along with Tice, like he's like Drew, like you mentioned. I think Brown will give a little bit more on the perimeter, along with what much of the way that Tice is going to bring in the interior as a rotational guy, a guy who can do multiple things and really contribute, but not gonna be a big star, but can really contribute in multiple ways. But to Chris's point though about the team being improved showing improvement right away and exhibiting that improvement on the court, Wendell was quoted in one of the papers today, about yesterday. He was quoted as saying that they just didn't take Cleveland serious yesterday. And I don't know, if that's, I don't know if you should credit him for his self-awareness there, but I think you can also discredit him for not being able to do anything to stop that. He said that he saw that in the warm-ups and them, running it, doing that thing before the game, that he noticed that. But y'all went out there and still gave that sorry performance that you did. So when I see something like that, I'm like, okay, bye-bye, Wendell. That you just prove again why we don't, we're not going to really miss you. And, other players, like, again, nice players, good guys apparently, but, Otto and, all these other guys, Chandler Hutchinson, like, we had to shed you and you had to go somewhere. And like I say, with the guys that we have now, if we had them at the beginning of the year, maybe we already have that 4 spot locked up. Maybe we're competing in that top 4 already, because when you look at the number of games that the Bulls have given up this year, they should be at least a 500 team. So it's, that's the type of thing that, I will credit, to what you say, Chris. This is a team that could be better in a better spot immediately. Than I don't know if that would have made a difference in how they would have approached today if they were, 24-19 instead of 19-24. But, what we get today, like I say, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. And, it could be positive in the immediate future. It definitely, I think, is going to be positive in the ongoing future. As we welcome another guest on the show.
What?
That's it.
This Connor. Connor, what up, man? Say hi. What's up, man?
That's a nice kid.
I thought y'all said that. I thought Blue Check Tone slid in.
No.
Blue Check Mark Anthony.
But
no, I agree with your point. I haven't seen much. It's hard for me to characterize guys as not mentally tough without seeing them, especially a guy like Hutch who was hurt a lot. And I feel like sometimes you say guys, not you. It's said that guys are soft because they get hurt, because they're out, and you're like, it's still the old thing is like, why isn't this guy playing? Oh, he's got a hangnail, he's got a blister. I go to work every day with blisters, stuff like that, where you're making comparisons that don't actually work. But that's a good quote as any. If the Wendell who came out of Duke, I thought was going to mature into a leader just based on his defensive prowess alone. And it just seemed like somewhere along the line, his confidence just dwindled to zero. He couldn't hit the 3-point shot. He would like just a lot of games where he was just duds. And then he would have 1 or 2 games where he was kind of lighting it up, 10 boards, 16 or 17 points. And I was like, this is the Wendell that we expect. I don't want to harp on him, but if these are the guys that you got, I think that still speaks to the idea that they should be able to at least. It's only 3 games, like you said, to get to the 4th spot in this East. The Bulls are 10th right now, and they're 4 games under 500. There's 3 teams who are 500, tied for like the 6th through 8th spots, or the 5th through 7th.
Yeah,
there should be with these guys, with this coach who has recognized in countless press conferences what their faults are, what their failings are in these games. Even if it's a tough schedule, can they win? Can they go 3 games over 500 the rest of the way? If the answer is yes, then they should make the playoffs. If all you got to do is get to 500 to get to a seed higher than 8th, you should make the playoffs.
Yeah. I was about to say. Well, yeah, that's definitely good point there, Chris. And I think like God, I don't know. I just forgot where I was going to go to, but but I think I think from there let's just go into some of the other deals that were made. What the other things that were like I say, this was a raucous day overall. A lot of things came across the wire today, and I think a couple deals were sort of late last night, like DeLon Wright getting traded from Sacramento to Detroit. Not much of anything there. Then you had JaVale McGee. I think that was sort of early this morning, getting traded to the Nuggets from Cleveland.
Back to the Nuggets.
Yeah, Nuggets came up pretty pretty good today with McGee, and later, of course, Aaron Gordon, who they gave up. They gave up Gordon for Gary Harris, R.J. Hampton, and okay, now I got my last point now because I'm thinking about Orlando again. Okay, but the last point I was gonna make about Wendell and the Bulls was that the you talk about his confidence, and like I said, I don't wish bad on Wendell. I want him to grow and flourish as a player, and I think a move, this move could be the right thing for him. It could be just what he needed, and he's going to be in Orlando. He may be slotted. I guess he may be slotted in their starting lineup right away, so he'll be able to play much like he did here in Chicago, with a lot less pressure. And that could be a great thing for him. So
look at Markel Fultz.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. Yeah. We may look up in a couple of years and those two may be a nice little duo down there with some other talent. It's one thing though with Orlando. It seemed like they do. Ever since they had those championship or near championship teams with Dwight Howard in them, they seem to do these rolling rebuilds every couple years, and they have a couple people they give money to, but then they get rid of those guys, and then they just keep on rolling with another rebuild. So I would think it's kind of frustrating to be an Orlando basketball fan. I don't know how fervent they are, but but it seems like they're in that position once again. Definitely, when you look at them giving up Vucevic and Aaron Gordon in the same day, but both of those guys were frustrated. I think maybe Gordon even more publicly so, but those are guys who they really couldn't keep on the reservation too much longer.
Yeah, but at least their front office now they picked a spot instead of just kind of hanging in basketball purgatory where you're not quite bad enough to get a top lottery pick. You're not good enough to win a playoff series. So now they just let themselves bottom out, maybe strike gold in this was supposed to be a deep draft. I think next year is supposed to be deep too. So I guess good for them in the long run, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the deals from their end, yeah, sure. Like I said, I don't have the full details on the Fournier trade. Like I said, another big name for them. He was a big scorer for them. I say they get a first round pick from the Nuggets with Harris and R.J. Hampton. They get the 2 picks from the Bulls. Do we know that the 1 pick is from this year? Do we know that?
It said 2021.
Okay. So yeah. So the Bulls, like I say, yesterday I was thinking about guys who the Bulls could get in the first round this year. That's out the door now, but that's fine. We got Nikola Vucevic. Okay, I'm fine with it. But like some of the other deals, again, mentioned the Wizards guys that they picked up. It was going to be Mo Wagner along with Troy Brown. That was the initial trade, but it turned into a 3-way with Boston involved. Daniel Gafford and Hutchinson. I mentioned Hutchinson as a guy that's earlier to say bye-bye to. Gafford, maybe again another guy who, I'm not, like I say, not hostile to these players. It's just they weren't. I don't know if they didn't have enough chances or what, but from what we've seen of them, like I said, we see flashes, but we just didn't. They didn't. I don't think you could say that any of these players that they traded today made the most out of the time that they had on the court. Like Chris say, I don't hold it against nobody for being injured. You can't really control that. But when you are on the court, you got to make the most out of your term on the court. And with all these guys that we give, it's nobody who we gave up today. The Bulls gave up. I keep saying we. I shouldn't say that, but the Bulls gave up today.
I got to correct myself so many times on Twitter. Erase.
I know.
Maintain objectivity,
man.
Yeah. There's so many guys. None of the guys that the Bulls gave up today, you can look at it and say, "Damn, man, I would have loved him if we could have had him for this another year or so. If we could have had him with this new nucleus that we're developing here, that's something that you said a lot more in the Garpax era, but you don't. I can't say that with any of the guys that the Bulls gave up today. But again, looking at at the other deals, George Hill going from the Thunder to the 76ers, Tony Bradley, Terrence Ferguson, and that's a three-way with the Knicks. Austin Rivers going to he's going to OKC, which is wild because he's not going to his pops. and my man, the gift god, my man used to play for UCLA. He did the thing where the Fresh Prince episode where he's Austin said he's Austin is Will and Doc is his dad, and then Doc is is Will's dad, and he said, "Why don't you want me?"
Hey, Austin got Doc teched up at one time and tossed out.
Right.
Ain't no family no more, man.
He said Doc couldn't even trade for him though, man. He's like, I'm out here, man.
Hey,
put me on the squad.
Alex Avila's dad traded him twice off the Tigers, I'm pretty sure. So ain't no love. No love.
Ain't no love. That's right. But Trailblazers pick up Gary Trent. Trade Gary Trent, excuse me. That was actually something that the Bulls were getting rumored for Gary Trent, because after the Vucevic trade, it was starting to seem like that getting Lonzo was going to be too much. So maybe another option would have been Gary Trent Jr., but he winds up going to Toronto for Norman Powell. And of course, we'll talk about some of the deals that haven't been made. That's sort of as big of the news as the deals that were made today. Of course, Rondo getting traded, and Lou Will. I know, Josh, you were all up on that. Lou Will returning to Atlanta and Magic City for full time. And Rondo is going to be, that veteran guard for the Clippers now. He's going to be in the mix again in LA in the playoff situation. Pelicans traded Redick to the Mavs for James Johnson and some others, Wes Nwundu. Brad Wanamaker from the Warriors going to the Hornets. And of course, the big late trade. Well, I say the Daniel. We already mentioned Daniel Theis. Like I say, that formulated that three-way with the Bulls, Celtics, and Bulls, Celtics, and Washington. So it wound up being Wagner going to Boston with Theis coming here, and but the big late trade, a late announcement at least, was Oladipo going from Houston to the Heat, Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a draft swap included in that deal. So out of the other deals, I would, I guess that's the big headline, the Oladipo trade. What sticks out to y'all about that trade or any others that came across the wire today?
My man Jimmy getting more help. They already got Trevor Ariza, and now they talking about buying out LaMarcus Aldridge. I'm not saying they're gonna beat the damn Harlem Globetrotters over there in Brooklyn, but man, I like what they're doing for Jimmy. So I might just leave it at that.
I think it just shows how low of an interest Oladipo's market was, because you only give up Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk from a contract perspective is not that high, and it's not like you get a draft pick, you actually just switching one, so you're not really losing too much. Jeez, I mean, Pat Riley finessed the hell out that deal. I mean, you can't get it no sweeter than that. I mean, I know he has an expiring contract, but considering the fact that Victor Oladipo actually wants to be in Miami, he wants a long-term contract there, and you already locked up Bam Adebayo. You were able to keep Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, which was an issue when they were having discussion with the Kyle Lowry trade, because he was supposed to go to Miami, or rumored supposed to go to Miami, but they didn't want to put Tyler Hero in the deal. So you're able to keep all your guns and still get at least a nice quality piece that has all-star potential, to pair up with Jimmy Butler for this last push. Man, and like you mentioned, Marcus Aldridge too. It's crazy how low of a market it was just because of Oladipo's, not just his skill set, but I guess what he went through the past couple of years with his injuries. Injury bug, trying to recover from those major injuries that he's had. He just never seemed right after that. And I guess with him going, being traded from Indiana to Houston, and what's going on with the Indiana rebuild and Houston's debacle of the season with James Harden, and unfortunately, getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins and this 20-game losing streaks, like I don't even want to go into that. And I just think that's just like the icing on the cake for this season, because they really just got gypped with this deal with Victor Oladipo. I don't know. I was just surprised that his market value was that low. But at the same time, that's what happens when you're dealing with people that sort of don't have an idea what they're doing compared to the GOATs in the game. That's Pat Riley finessing the hell out of the Rockets' new GM. I forgot his name, but yeah, I mean,
I think they were saying that Norman Powell stole Oladipo's market. So
there's a reason why there's a reason why some teams they're able to reload and not really rebuild. And Miami is one of those teams. Like, they never really have to fully rebuild, and that's because of Pat. The OG.
I think there's actually a couple things here that I saw a headline, and I wasn't able to read much into it, about the Raptors and Pascal Siakam going off the other day, and that the Raptors are kind of splitting at the seams. I mean, they're losing Lowry at some point if they haven't already traded him. I want to talk about Oladipo first, because I kind of feel the same way, Josh, except I mean, he's only played in about 80 games over the past 3 seasons. And it's a bad knock for when you get a guy like of his skill set that just keeps getting hurt. It's not his fault, but it's a what have you done for me lately kind of league. And he had those 2 All-Star seasons, got the big contract at Indy, and they looked like they were really going places. And truthfully, they would be going places if Oladipo was on the court with Sabonis. But he hadn't been able to stay healthy. They let him. They traded him to Houston, And he's played 20 games for the Rockets and looked pretty good, just according to the stats. He's looked like a pretty good version of Victor Oladipo with 21, 5, and 5. But I don't know, man. It's whereas you could say Oladipo might be like one of your top 2 guys on a contending squad. I hesitate to say that now. And so I think that's why Miami was able to get him to supplement the core that they have rather than leading that core that they have. You know, it wasn't a pickup for a team that was looking for the piece, like the big piece, like say the Bulls would be. It was a team that was trying to supplement their deep playoff aspirations.
Yeah. I mean, then let's not, you know, I don't want to say that a player was tanking or try to like insinuate that Victor Oladipo was, but I gotta think that if you're in that type of situation on this franchise that doesn't really know which way it's going, you know, John Wall is hurt, DeMarcus Cousins hurt, not playing, whatever. How much of that, you know, you're going through this? I don't know, man. Like that just has to affect your mentality somewhat. And now you're going to a franchise that was just in the finals, that is about that action. You're not about to come in there and just chill. Like you also have the privilege of being a third option on that team now. I mean, this could be a godsend for him too, and his value.
Drew, I think the way to describe that after the previous guy who got out of Houston, Harden, I would say he didn't put on the fat suit. That's the way to describe it.
Yes. I like it.
Hard to put on the fat suit. You know, Oladipo was short of that.
Man, that man got in shape real quick over there in Brooklyn, boy.
I do wonder though if Oladipo can really last in Miami just because of the way that culture is. It's so intense. It's so, you know, basketball 24/7, give it all you got, locked down, no tolerance policy type of deal. Victor Oladipo was the happy guy that'll come out the court and sing you a little R&B song or put the song. You know, like,
come on, man. Come on, man.
I don't know. That's a good fit for him long term. I mean, I can't say nothing because you know it's Pat Riley. If you come to Pat Riley's group, I'm pretty sure you'll be just fine. But I don't know, Jimmy Butler. I mean, he already has his way of, you know, being the coffee guy, listening to Taylor Swift. I don't know if Victor Oladipo wants to come in and jack that up. I try to put on an R&B album that he created in the locker room. I don't think Jimmy gonna have that, man.
Right.
This man is wild,
this is my latest deep cut, Jimmy. Check it out.
You think just Jimmy listen to country, he don't get down on R&B? You think Jimmy don't get down on R&B behind the closed doors?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Country thing is for the public.
It's a time and place.
We all got different sides to this, you know.
People, you know, there's a lot of black people who listen to country music, man.
Yeah, I mean there is. I just don't know if he's gonna vibe in that locker room. I mean, he may want a certain vibe. I don't think R&B about singing about R&B and ain't got nothing to do with a basketball going. You know, I don't know if it's gonna work. Especially since he got the moves, he's smooth with it. He's trying to play his demo reel, man. He's trying to hit them streets out of Miami and say, "Yo, I'm trying to get DJ Khaled on these joints, man. Let's go." Talking about another one.
In the locker room, you just got to let everybody have their turn with the aux cord. You know, you can't let anybody hog the aux cord. Let everybody get their time. You know, so sometimes you be listening to the smooth stuff. Sometimes you listen to, you know, the folksy stuff, and sometimes you listen to the hardcore stuff. You know, just try to mix it in with everybody.
Did you just spill the tea? Is that what led to the Chicago Bulls locker room issues with Jimmy Butler? They wasn't spreading the wealth on a music tip.
I would imagine that probably was a harder goal. at least when Rose was there, he probably was a little less, less forgiving. No, I don't know. I have no inside information on it. But we talk about Miami, and you talk about the environment, the mentality down there in Miami, the culture, as it were, and a lot of people thought that a Kyle Lowry would have been a good fit down there because of that. Let's talk about some of the deals that didn't get made today, and apparently some of the rumors that they got there. We follow quite a few people, including our guy Scoop B, who seem to be plugged in with some of the processes as these things happen, and have some information as to why deals get made and why they don't get made, and what type of offers are being made and stuff. And some in regards to Lowry, who was being sought after by a few teams, including the Lakers, apparently, there were some players who were being put out there or who were being asked for, I would guess, by Masai Ujiri in Toronto, who, these other teams just weren't, flexible on. Like apparently Tyler Hero was the case down in Miami, and maybe a Taylor Horton Tucker was in LA, which is quite surprising. But what do you guys think about this whole thing? Do you think that it was a missed opportunity that Lowry wasn't dealt with today, and Philly as well? We got to mention Philly as well with that. But do you think it was a missed opportunity that he didn't get dealt today, in particular to one of those teams, or what?
It's interesting because I saw that apparently LA was willing to give up a ton to get. I think you said Scoop said that they offered Schroeder, Horton Tucker, KCP, and somebody else to get Lowry. And I can't imagine that would be just for Lowry. No disrespect to Kyle Lowry at all, but that's 4 players plus somebody else that I can't recall just for one guy. That sounds like a LeBron decision almost. It really does. And LeBron's a smart dude, but I feel like he gets fixated on the guy he wants sometimes. And is like, we need to do whatever we can to get this guy because that guy's available and that's what we need. And I don't know if you get those guys in Toronto or technically in Tampa this season, where do they fit? What do they do? They're good players, but how much do they add to your team? What are you trying to do this season with, like I said, the Raptors kind of coming apart?
They add to the beaches.
You said what? Josh?
They add to the beaches. They in Tampa.
You don't want to go. You don't want to go.
They probably can't at the beach right now.
You don't want to go to the beach in Tampa right now, man. Be safe. Be safe. Continue to social distance, man.
Right, you just rolling in COVID at this point. Man.
For real, man. Yeah, you know what? If I'm Masai Ujiri, if I'm Masai Ujiri, I'm like, hey, I don't want to give those guys. I know I appreciate what y'all doing, but I don't want to expose all those guys to the potential of catching coronavirus down here. So we're gonna let this one go. We're gonna wait till we're back in Toronto, and then let's talk next season. Let's just do that.
That makes sense though. What you said, Chris, about Scoop B's report about how that might be linked to LeBron, because with him being injured, I think he's supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and Anthony Davis still going through what he's going through. LeBron might be like, man, I don't know if these guys as is can keep this ship afloat. Let me go try to get another quasi-star, superstar type level player. So I can see him trying to work behind the scenes for that, for sure. But I had a brain cramp for a minute when you said Larry. I thought she was talking about marketing. That's why I made that face. Like, wait, what? They about to give up?
Oh yeah.
I need some more coffee, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely right up LeBron's alley, man. I mean, LeBron's a recruiter. He knows what he likes. He knows what he likes, and when he tells you what he likes, 9 out of 10, because he's King James, you get what the king wants. I mean, he's done that since Cleveland. He did it. Wade brought him in Miami. He saw how things operated in Miami. What brought him those 2 championships, and since then, he's like, okay, I'm the captain now. So you do as I say, and that's what happened when you brought in Kevin Love, championship. Goes to LA and then bring in Anthony Davis, championship. It's the same cycle. So I'm not surprised that it's LeBron James, pushing the narrative of saying, you know what, I need to get a third guy. I mean, there's been rumor that the Lakers been trying to get a third guy for the longest, which is why you heard the Bradley Beal rumors. That's why you heard potentially using people like Montrezl Harrell and things of that sort to get that third superstar over there, because that's what he's accustomed to playing with. That's what he likes.
And he sees that trio in Brooklyn, and he looking around.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got AD, but that's a different type of firepower over there, man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So he's going to do whatever it takes to win that championship. Of course, he's going to say, I'm the best. I'm not worried about all that. I like the guys we got. Yeah, okay. You told me you can get a superstar on your roster. You told me you can get another superstar in the prime on top of that. You told me if Bradley Beal wasn't available, they weren't going to pull that trigger. Oh, yeah. He would have said, get the help. Hey, I'll pack your bags for you, bro. You can call my private jet right now. You ain't got to get on the flight. I'll get my private jet for you. Like, he's not going to turn that down. I mean, so of course, this is a LeBron. I do believe this was a LeBron James type of motive. But at the end of the day, this is something he's done all his career, especially since he left Cleveland. This is something and went to Miami. This is something he's been accustomed to. This is what he's always done. So there's nothing new. I think what's new is the fact that the Lakers responded by actually not doing it. And the reason why is because, they did everything that they could to pull the Anthony Davis trade. They did everything right to get that done. They got the championship. You want to keep that winning thing afloat. But they also know that what they're giving up is so much in the situation that they're in right now. Even though Kyle Lowry's a great guy, he's not going to move the needle as much as you want with that specific team without Anthony Davis and LeBron James in the lineup. And on top of that, he's looking for roughly $30 million a year for at least another 2-year contract, I believe. So he wants that security. Lakers can't give him that with the contracts they got with Anthony Davis and LeBron James now locked in. So it doesn't make sense to make that move. So I think Rob Pelinka was just like, look here, bro. Look, I understand. We have a lot of history together. You saw what I did with Kobe, and everything like that. We have the history around the league. I know you got a championship. You're trying to, do your thing with the GOAT, trying to be the GOAT. And, you got Anthony Davis. I saw what happened, what you did when you worked with Chicago talent. I got to hear to LA. So, therefore, since you got that long term, man, you have to ride this one with me, bro. You have to ride this wave with me, because I'm not going to put the team in that much of a jeopardy to where if you don't win it this year, you got Kyle Lowry and you got Anthony Davis on your squad. I don't know what else to tell you, because I can't do too much the following years because all my money going to be gone. I'm already having a hard time locking up Dennis Schroeder, and he's not even near the talent that what Kyle Lowry is at this present moment. So what can I do? Help me help you. Like that's pretty much what Rob is saying at this point. Like help me help you. And I think this is stuff.
It's definitely to that point. It's probably, you could guess that it's probably a lot more of a delicate situation right now in LA, and given the injuries, given I think, but also the fact that they have their title already, that they have their title now. Like if they were in this situation last year with these pieces, there may have been more of a we got to get it type of approach. There may have been more of an urgency involved, and there may have been less of a trust back and forth between LeBron and his camp and the front office of the Lakers. I would think that there's maybe more of a trust that's involved between those guys, between those respective camps at this point, because they got each other that championship last year. And like I said, there's less of an urgency because of that as well. So, yeah, maybe that's why that trigger didn't get pulled in particular. And, in this section of the conversation, I was just thinking about how with most of these moves today, it's sort of centered in the East. Not much activity in the West outside of Denver. Portland did a couple things, but not, big things. And you look at the other contenders. Nothing from Utah, of course. No really need to from them, from the Suns. There was some talk about maybe some bigger moves with the Clippers. They wind up getting Rondo, but this again, you can argue about how big a move that is. But we still have a little bit of a market here with a couple big men potentially who are going to be released. Drummond is pretty much out the door in Cleveland, and looks like Aldridge is going to be the same thing for him in San Antonio. There was talk going back a couple of weeks that they may get traded. Neither gets traded. They look like they're going to be on the market as buyouts. What do you guys think about those two and what impact they could have on the buyer's market that remains after the deadline, after today? And who would you expect those guys to maybe go to? Will they have more an effect? Will they have an effect in the West? Will maybe Drummond go to LA, or will they sort of stick in the East? Will they stick in the East as well? There's some talk about Drummond in New York and Aldridge in Boston. Like, what do you guys think?
It sounded like Aldridge was headed for Miami.
Yeah, Miami as well. Yeah.
I know before Blake got to Brooklyn, they were talking about Drummond going there. But like you said, now it seems like he might be headed for the Lakers. With LeBron and AD still kind of nursing their own injuries. I mean, maybe that's not the worst pickup, for a rental for the season. It's just that I don't know if his fit to that team, given that they have Gasol, who can stretch the D better, stretch the defense better. So I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure, but I would like to see Aldridge go ahead and make that move to Miami, though. Like I said,
well, you want to see Miami go full Gungan on everybody, it's Voltron.
As much as they can, they still gonna be looking up at least one other team in the East, if not Philly and Milwaukee possibly. But yeah, I'm all for Jimmy getting more and more help. Side note, have there been any reports of either one of those guys going to Boston? Because they have fell off a cliff, man. I don't know what's going on with that.
No, the only thing I heard was Aldridge, maybe, but yeah. But yeah, Boston has been interesting because they picked up Fournier, and I was kind of hoping they would get involved with some Laurie talk yesterday. I did a couple runs on the ESPN trade machine, and I worked out some stuff with that. But I actually was gonna maybe do a piece on that, but I couldn't get to it before the deadline. But yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd get involved on the Laurie talk, but they wound up doing some stuff indirectly with the Bulls, I guess, and it more benefits the Bulls. It looks like to me, getting enticed and what they get in response. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like Boston is not in a good space right now. It seems like, but they didn't really weren't too aggressive to that.
No, I mean it's hard to compete with sunshine and palm trees. I mean, come on now.
Don't go to the beach, man.
Nobody gonna go for that. Boston got the.
It's all about the beach and chicken wings with Josh.
Josh about to risk it all, man.
Hey, if I could be anywhere right now, it would definitely be on a beach with some chicken wings. So best believe I'm gonna vouch for that. But we want to talk about. But I think honestly, a lot of this really comes down to who they ideally want to win with. Because if you want to talk about a contending team, it don't matter what team you put them on, they're gonna contribute to a championship team. They're gonna contribute. But are they gonna be satisfied with the minutes that they're gonna play? Are they gonna be satisfied in the role that they're gonna play, especially when it comes to offensively? That's why, for me personally, I think Andre Drummond would most likely go to the Knicks because right now they are in the playoff hunt. But they don't have a true center. He'll get a lot more run attention with the potential opportunity of making even more money long term, since they do have a big cap space for next year in the offseason. So I think he's thinking. I think he might be thinking full picture and thinking, you know what, the Knicks got something going on good. Might as well go there, do my thing while also I can collect the bag. I won't be surprised if he goes there. I think LaMarcus Aldridge to Miami is honestly the best option for him, just because of the culture where they're going winning wise, and the fact that, quite frankly, when you load up with Jimmy Butler, one of the areas they need to load up in is probably the big men department. He fits that skill set, especially offensively when Bam Adebayo's not going, or he can't fit, or having a roster lineup with him at the 4 or the 5 next to Bam and Jimmy, that's a tough front court to guard and mess with on both ends. So I think that's something that he's probably really considered, and that's why he's a lead front runner. I'm more interested though as far as what other players could be bought out soon. That hasn't been reported as of yet. Because depending on the player and the team, that we may see a quick shift in the buyout market when it comes to guards, or when it comes to wing players in depth. I don't really know just yet, but depending on what happens to that buyer's market, it could open up a lot of ears to some teams. Honestly, I would actually be great to see if the Bulls can even get into some of that stuff for a rental just to get through this year. Our guy Scoop reported how Andre Drummond has been in Chicago half of the time, with him being away from the team. He's been in Chicago half of the time. So he has some type of a connection to the city that he likes for him to be here, especially with this bipolar ass weather. So therefore, I will give him a call and say, hey, what's happening? You want to consider us? Obviously we got Vucevic, so we can't really put him at that center position, with that going on. But before that, if you talk about keeping Wendell Carter Jr., I thought that would be a great option for the Bulls to look into. So I don't know. I think it just depends on the players and how they view their fits and roles with some of these teams. If you're trying to win a championship, yeah, you better make it work with the top contenders. And if not, go to a team where they can fulfill what you want to fulfill. And that's why a Knicks team could be a surprise dark horse for them.
Yeah. Knicks, I think the Knicks gonna fit in pretty good eventually. Whether they, especially if they get a Drummond in that 4, 5, 6 range, I would see. I think they'll stay in that sort of range in the East. Whether they get him or not, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the fallout is, and we'll continue with that next week. But I want to get into some college stuff before we go, and but the last thing I want to talk about, go back to the Bulls on the pro side. Ryan Borgia, does a lot of good cap stuff on the Bulls on Twitter. He put up a cap sheet post deadline, and he of the team cap sheet, like I said, all the players listed on that they have under contract and everything, and he says that he projects the Bulls to have between $23 and $25 million in cap space for the offseason. And that is if they renounce cap holds on Felicio, Dice, Valentine, Temple, Green, and Makoka. And how it breaks down is you got Vucevic, Levine, Williams, White, and Troy Brown Jr. all guaranteed money. Vucevic, of course, is now the highest paid player on the team, $24 million. Zach is $19.5. Everybody, Williams and Kobe still on their rookie deals, and Troy Brown is Troy Brown on his rookie deal as well. He was drafted the same year as Wendell Carter, so he's on his rookie deal. Thaddeus Young and Satoransky are non-guaranteed contracts going into the summer. They're making combined $24 million. Aminu, who they took on today as a player option, he's making just over $10 million. Team option on Ryan Arcidiacono, he's at $3 million. Cap holds on, like I said, Felicio, Thies, Valentine, and Temple. Felicio, of course, has that ridiculous $14 million a year. and Theis is making over $9 million. Denzel over $8 million. And of course, we know Larry is restricted, free agent going into the summer. He's making over 20, and everybody else is cheap. Like Javonte Green, who they just got today, just over $1 million. Makoka, Devin Dotson, he's a two-way player as well. So they currently the team is just over $7 million over the cap, and that's without. And they or they're just not that's no. I'm looking at the wrong. Excuse me. They're over $50 million. So they got the salary is $163 million. The cap is $112 million. So yeah, but the guaranteed salary, looking into the summer, is $72 million. So that gives you some look of what they're dealing with in the summer, and the options that are going to be there. So but essentially, the players who are going to be with the team next year is Nikola, Zach, P. Will, Kobe, and Troy Brown Jr. Now. Everybody else is sort of up in the air.
Oh, Felicio's staying with the team though.
If I can meet Felicio,
you think Felicio?
He stayed on the team this long.
I want to shake his hand.
That was the prior management though. I don't know.
Like my man is finessing the hell out the Bulls, getting what you said, 14 mil.
Yeah, he must got some naked pictures on something.
Sitting his ass on the bench for 14 mil.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I want to shake his hand. I want to shake his hand. I want to take him to dinner. I want to shake his hand. I want to have a shot with him.
This how Felicio go. This how Felicio go into every practice.
What if he's a genuine asset to the team in a way that we just can't see? We just can't see it. There's guys
I want to sit down and ask him, give me the
maybe
tools.
He gives really good
how you finesse this deal. Please give me the deals. Please give me the tools. Help me finesse so I can finesse in life. Like, help me. Because that's the ultimate finesse. 14 mil to sit on the bench, don't even do and not do jack.
He got it made in the shade, man. Made in the $1 million shade.
Man.
Yeah. I'll be so glad when that contract is off the books for the Bulls.
Although he did have to suffer through them 3 days with boiling though, so
that is true. That is true. Everybody who played through boiling should get a little bit of a bonus. Sometimes bonus they should get that.
I don't know, man. That's crazy. But one thing that we can be confident about when you talk about analyzing the Bulls situation, obviously we know what Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley can do. I forgot his name. I want to say his name is JJ. Is JJ Polk or something like that. But that's a brother that worked in New Orleans on that Anthony Davis deal.
All right, yeah.
That's the same guy that works. That was a capital. He was a capital specialist for the Pelicans.
Yeah, you're right.
Really worked with that team in that offseason to get everything that they got from Anthony Davis, JJ Redick, Zion Williamson. They got everything that they got that offseason to make New Orleans what it was. And that was arguably the best offseason New Orleans had in history, right? So you have that now here. So imagine if he can work with front office management to do that, considering the change that Arturas Karnisovas, Mark Eversley made, even now, I have more of a peaceful comfort in the fact that in this offseason, who knows what can happen, because they have the right person that can make it work. So I can sit back and my dreams and chicken wings and my beach vision, hoping that the Bulls can get their act together and do what they're supposed to do, because clearly with this bipolar weather, I can't get that.
We're going to lose Josh soon. Josh going to go to Texas. One day we're going to do the show and he's going to be like, right, I'm in Houston. But
you're right. You're right.
Well, he knows. I've already done a couple of shows outside of Illinois. So So Kyle knows.
Josh be moving around. Yeah, he does. But
Bump J.
But you're right though. Like the people who are in control are much better than they have been before. So that's the main thing that we could take solace in and take comfort in, right now and going forward. The people who are making the decisions are much better than they've been in a long time. And they proved once again today why we should trust in Acme and AK and ME and the cap guy like Josh says as well. We should trust in these guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have in store for us, beyond this summer. But we can also look right now at the next game coming up, and we're gonna have some new Bulls and feel like we have a much more competent team that is representing Chicago right now. So that's a good thing. But also another competent team that is representing Chicago, Loyola of Chicago, as they have to say nationally. But we just say Loyola here. And in the Sweet 16, they ran through U of I, man. And in our WARR tournament challenge, everybody who's involved is gone now. Their titleist is gone, who they picked. And except for Ken Davis, he picked Gonzaga. Being the contrarian that he is.
Yeah.
So he's still alive, but he's number 3 in the rankings now. Josh actually, me and Josh are tied for the best performance so far. But Josh, yeah. But Josh,
snap.
You have your max total potentially is much better than mine, because even though we both picked Illinois to win, but your max potential for points, you can get 910, and I'm maxing out at 750. That's if all the rest of my picks are good.
Josh picked Oral Roberts.
He just saw Oral and picked that, I think. Yeah. But Drew picked Illinois. Drew, your max is better than mine too. 890 you can get.
Really?
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention every Sunday, man, so I'm done.
And Chris, you didn't pick anyone, but you
I missed out. Yeah.
But by not picking anyone, you're sort of doing better than all of us who picked Illinois.
But I was gonna pick Illinois though. Illinois was going. I had Illinois in my title game.
Peace of mind, brother. Peace of mind.
Well,
yeah, I am the Andre of the season's tournament. Andre from the league.
Illinois ruined a lot of brackets.
Man.
Bro, I can't tell you how upset I am.
Illinois ruined a lot of brackets. So did Ohio. Ohio State. The Big Ten has been real whack in the tournament. This has been a wild tournament, man. But like I say, Loyola's still in there. A couple of bigger seeds in there. Well, let me look at the bracket.
A team with 2 NBA players on it lost to a team full of computer programmers, man.
Who are we talking about now?
But they had 2 guys. They had 2 guys. I think Lucas said
I'm just kidding, I swear.
Yeah. Don't have Crutwig approach you on the street now, man. He a big dude.
Approach him to what? Sell him a car? Offer him a deal on plumbing? What?
Hey, all I'm gonna say is that man went toe to toe with Kofi, man. Kofi is a big dude, man. That's some big body right there, man.
Yeah, man. Don't sleep on that.
But I ain't giving
those 2 guys. Those 2 guys played. They showed their experience. They played in the Final Four before, and like just that whole team is Moses is one of the best coaches in America, man. He showed out against Underwood, man. I don't know what type of preparation or plan that he had for his guys, but they just the whole to not lead at all in that game is really embarrassing for Illinois when you think about it. But hey, that's what it is, man. That's kind of what U of I does to you at some point, man. They sort of let you down, unfortunately. But
let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this. A little bit of a fallout question. I know you can never count another man's money, and if you got the potential of being a lottery pick, you can't pass it up for anything. But is there any chance that Io comes back?
I don't see it.
No.
I would say less than 5% or less.
Oof.
It's very minute. Very minute.
Okay.
Yeah, you got. I mean, look, he really has proved himself at that level. Outside of going deep in the tournament, he has proved himself. And as a guard, I think you have much more of ability to sort of jimmy yourself into the first round. The sort of smoke and mirrors yourself into that first round. And get some first round money as opposed to a Kofi who may be sort of bound for the second round if he comes out this year, which he still may. I would, if I was in his ear, I'd tell him to stay for that fourth year myself. But Io, I think what he's getting in his ear and what he seen, of himself, I don't think it's the worst decision for him to go into the league after this. Even though he had one of the worst performances of his college career against Loyola, but
Now does that hold true? Do you guys feel the same way? If guys are telling him, "Hey man, you probably not gonna go in the lottery," does that still hold true? You still feel like it's gonna be only a small chance that he returns? If guys are telling him, "Hey man, you probably middle to first."
What guys? It depends on who's saying that. All the stuff that we talked about with Sean last time out or a couple of shows ago. Who is going to supplant him in the draft lottery? Who's going to push him to the teens? And that's an honest question. I'm not saying like there's nobody who's going to do it. Like who's going to do it?
I mean, I think for his career and what it could be in the league, it might be best for him to go out because Sean brought up a good point, like Chris mentioned in the previous shows. Even though he wants to be a lottery pick, if he goes to a good culturally sound team like a Miami, a San Antonio Spurs, or like a Portland Trailblazers, somewhere where there's legit, basketball culture where he can thrive in, he can grow and develop in, that could actually take his talents to becoming having a more longevity of a career in the league compared to going to a team where he can make a lot of money and being a lottery pick, but he may not succeed, he may not have the full thrive because he doesn't have the resources that he would need to excel. And so depending on how things go, whether he stays or not, that's up to him. But I do think, if he were to come up this year, it may not be a bad choice if he can go down to one of those culturally sound teams that you can win in, you can thrive in, you can develop your game around. And at least use that as a platform for the next level of where you're trying to get to, especially if you're trying to secure that bag.
It's an interesting decision. I think plus two, the fact that the reports were mostly that he was going to leave last year, and he didn't show nearly as much after last year that he did after this year. I think he gave it a shot, and I think he's gonna make his move. But it's interesting too. Like when you look at other potential pros or expected pros, Cade, how much are you really affected by the tournament? Is Cade Cunningham really affected by being knocked out in the second round? Are the Gonzaga guys going to be affected by likely going to the all the way? They got a couple guys. I actually saw Mike Schmitz on Scott Van Pelt last night. he was talking up Corey Kispert for Gonzaga, and saying that he may end up in the lottery because of the showcase that Gonzaga is expected to have now. So, it's interesting, man. But as far as the tournament itself goes, I think it's going to be hard to knock that Gonzaga team off. They play more assuredly than any other top seed going forward. I think Loyola has a good chance to make the Elite Eight again. When you look at their region, say them knocking Illinois off, they got to play Oregon State, which is another big Cinderella team come out of nowhere. They got to play them this Saturday. If they beat them, they got either Syracuse or Houston. And I was talking with Larry Holly at WGN on Monday about Loyola and Houston potentially meeting. Those would be the top two defensive teams in the nation going against each other. So it wouldn't be a matchup necessarily where Loyola would have to maybe strain itself athletically. They probably would, if they just get down low like they typically do and do their thing as a defense, they may be able to handle themselves in that game. But I think my revised Final Four, which given my original Final Four, you could take with a grain of salt if my revised Final Four means anything. But I would say I'm going with my heart again and taking Loyola out the Midwest. I'll say Baylor out the South, Gonzaga out the West, and I'm going with Michigan out the East since they survived that LSU game. And Florida State's going to be pretty tough for them. And Alabama expectedly in the Elite Eight could be pretty tough too in the East. But I'm going to just go with Michigan to represent the Big Ten in the Final Four. And Gonzaga and Baylor is going to be in the championship game, sort of the 1-2 matchup that everybody's been expecting for the remainder of the year. Y'all got any thoughts on along those lines?
I'll not necessarily along those lines, but I'll say this. I had Big Ten Network and Stadium play-by-play broadcaster Chris Foster's on my show this week. So check that out on Friday.
Yeah. And new ITS.
Yes, sir. New ITS. But we talked about the March Madness tournament, how he covers some of the tournament, and he knows the in-depthness of the Big Ten teams and things of that sort. He said two valid points that stuck out to me. One of them was the fact that if Gonzaga was ever to lose to anyone, this next game would be the opponent with Creighton. Just because Creighton themselves play at such a high-paced game that's what you need to keep up with Gonzaga. And Gonzaga hasn't played too many teams where, you had that high-pacedness, they had to compete against their own style of play. So with Creighton being in the mix, he said that can cause some trouble for Gonzaga, especially down the stretch if the game is tight. I'm not saying I do believe Gonzaga is going to win it all, but if there's an opponent to look out for when you're talking about what could run into Gonzaga's way, that's one of them. And he also mentioned too, not to count out Michigan, just because what Juwan Howard has done to turn that program around, even with their best player out. And I do believe that, that I forgot his name. I think his name is Lyles or something like that. Him being out, I think he's eventually going to make a return if Michigan does keep winning. And if they do, that just bolsters the roster as a whole back to full strength, which is something that we already knew throughout the season was already deadly because that's what made them win the regular season Big Ten tournament. And I think when it comes to the Big Ten network as a whole, or the Big Ten conference as a whole, with all those teams being knocked out so early, with the fact that they had to play against each other for so long throughout the season, and not having a lot of non-conference games, I think it just battled them out for so long. They didn't know how to compete with the other top talent. And that's why you saw so many upsets. They were too busy clashing at each other for all season long. That when it came, especially through the Big Ten championship, we saw how Ohio State almost gave it to Illinois in overtime and how much of a brutal game that was. So with the tough turnarounds, not much practice time, and the fact that the Big Ten is so talented but yet so physical, that when it came to them playing against non-conference games in this March Madness, they weren't prepared for it because they were exhausted, they were tired, and quite frankly drained. And it's.
I don't know if the preparation would have been an issue though. I think, but I see what you're saying. But I think it's hard to analyze the college game. You know, there's so many. You know, these kids come out and the performances could vary so much from day to day. I think there was a lot of people who would look at the Big Ten teams and say that them battling each other like they did throughout the year would have been like a steel sharpened steel situation where it led them to being overly ready or overly prepared for these other teams that they could have saw in the tournament. I think personally it just comes down to matchups, individual matchups, and the draws that you get in the tournament mean the most. Like I said, with Illinois, you know, it really Loyola just wound up really being one of the worst matchups they could have had because Loyola played great man-to-man defense. They get in the passing lanes. They don't let up. And when when Illinois couldn't get their pick and roll stuff going, when Illinois couldn't get their jump shots, they couldn't get out quickly with their jump shots. Like Williams wasn't hitting. Frazier wasn't hitting, Io wasn't hitting, and they had such a bad first half, just fell back and they just could never get into the game like they wanted to. Even though they were getting the ball out to Kofi and he was getting some buckets, they just lacked so much on the perimeter that which typically makes you like compare the game that they had against Loyola to the game that they played against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Like those were two completely different teams. So, the matchups are different. And if you get that bad matchup, even if it's the level of talent is different overall in college play. Is more flattened than it's ever been. Even with these smaller schools, they just can find ways to beat the bigger schools in ways like they never could before, more regularly than they ever could. So, yeah.
And this year, I think, limited larger schools in a way that it didn't as much with the smaller schools, the mid-majors, or the really mid-tier schools. And I can't say exactly why, but I just don't think that they got they didn't get the games that they were used to, the non-conference, like interconference tournaments that they were used to getting. So it just seemed like the level of preparation, even the playing field. I was going to say you saw that on the women's side too, but just checking the lowest seed that made to the Sweet 16 and the women's was 6. And it's normal for it to be more top heavy in the women's college game, but I think you saw that in both games, the men's college and the women's college. Throughout the season, there were a lot of upsets.
Mm-hmm. I've been looking some at the women's tournament too. I was looking at that Northwestern game the other day, and that was a tough loss, man. They got up pretty good on Louisville there, but Louisville just ran them off the court in that second half. But that'd have been a 7 beating a 2 there.
Yeah, that would have been big.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what do you think? What do you think right quick of that in that women's tournament? Who do you think is looking like the favorites right now?
The game to watch, I can't say favorites because all the one seeds, all the top seeds are still in. UConn is good. They got Paige Buchers. North Carolina State's a quality team. I think they had one injury to one of their starters, so they might be a little up in the air. Stanford's playing Missouri State. That'll be an interesting game because Missouri State dominated their second round game, and they've been the best team in the Missouri Valley for the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, they got a good program.
But that Iowa Connecticut game is the one to watch because a lot of people who are plugged in women's college basketball and women's basketball are a little annoyed that Paige Buchers has been getting all the headlines for various Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas, to Larry Bird type reasons, shall we say, as well as being at UConn. While Caitlin Clark is a freshman who's been putting up really, really, really good numbers for Iowa all year long. So that's the matchup of the freshmen, like pretty much the freshman of the year. And for a lot of Iowa, for some Big Ten fans, that might be if Iowa comes out on top, people are going to be asking why she didn't get looks for freshman of the year and player of the year as well. But that really for me is the game to watch. Also, Charlotte Collier, the center at Texas, who showed out against Bradley. She's playing Texas playing Maryland on Sunday night. That's the final game of the Sweet 16, and she's a quality player. She's really good. So it's hard to bet against Dawn Staley and South Carolina, but I think the Iowa Connecticut game is really the game to watch on the weekend, and then that Texas Maryland game and the Missouri State Stanford. So tune in to all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check out a couple of those, especially the Iowa Connecticut one. But
they have some good ones, man. That Texas A&M finish in overtime.
Yeah, that happened. That happened quick as hell. I watched that in.
I watched that. I was like, somebody got to stop ball, man. Somebody got to pick up the ball.
I was like, damn, the game over already. Then the girls ran out on the court. It was like, oh damn, that was a good one though. But
coaches weren't using timeouts.
Yeah. That you rarely see an ending like that on the men's side. Every men's game, like for every real minute of play, every game. Now, if every minute of play on the court, you got to add like 5 minutes of real time to it. Like, it takes so long to end a close men's basketball game in college, man. But anyway, we getting close to the end here, guys. It's been another great one. I just want to throw a couple things out at y'all right quick, though. Josh, who you think DePaul gonna get to coach, man? See, some people talking about Porter, trying to get Porter, man, back up the truck on him, man. I don't know if that's gonna happen though.
I don't see that happening. I think honestly, the best candidate that they're going to go after the most is probably Cleveland State's head coach. I forgot his name. I'm really bad.
I think Dennis Gates.
Dennis Gates, yeah, he's come from DePaul. He's he's played under the system, so he knows what it's like to be in the city to play for the program. And I believe on one of our last show, I think when I was talking about with Ken and Ricky, or my last show with Ken and Ricky, I asked Ricky about that question too, and he said, he talked about how Kenny Payne would be a good option, and I brought up the idea of what if DePaul brings back some guys that actually went through the system, went through the school during their glory days, like a Quentin Richardson, or maybe like a Rod Strickland. And and he said, even though they don't have coaching experience, if they get the right coach that has those connections, working with them will be ideal to have them on their bench as like assistant coaches. And I think that's going to be a big deal for DePaul. We talk about not just expanding the program, as far as expanding the program as a whole, and really improving your marketing, improving your recruitment, and things of that sort. Especially with the college in the Big East and the small college in the heart of the downtown city. Why not? I mean, you have all the tools. You just need to get the right people in place to really excel and sell what DePaul has to offer, which is something that they struggled for so long to do. And bringing in a guy that has coaching experience, but a real connection to DePaul, and on top of that, bringing in former NBA players and legends of the game that actually played at DePaul as well and really help bring success to DePaul. I think that would be a sky's the limit for DePaul. So I hope they go that route. And hopefully I do get to see, Quentin Richardson or Rod Strickland on the bench next year when I be covering these games. So we'll see.
Shout out to our guy Gabe, man. He just threw in the comment with us. He mentioned Rick Pitino, man. Get Rick Pitino out that small school, get him back in the city life, man. I don't know. That might be too wild.
Trouble.
Calling, boy.
You're Rick Pitino on Rush Street, man. I don't know about that.
Let's not get into it. Let's not get into it, man.
Reel us back in.
Let's show some respect for sex workers, man. I mean, Chuck. It's funny too. Chuck was right when they were talking about, hey, Iona might be a team to watch. Iona, watch out for Iona against this team. And he's like, yo, would we be saying anything about Iona if Rick Pitino wasn't coaching them? And they were like, it's like, no.
It shows how good of a coach he is, great of a coach he is. I mean, 5 teams he's taken to the tournament, and for him to essentially be banished from major college basketball, he said, "Hey, screw it! I'll go to Iona and take them to the tournament. I'm gonna get my shine somehow. I'm Ricky P."
I want to put up a couple things before we're not going out, but just my things to wind down on. As always, again, big ups to the teams that made the tournament on the men's and the women's side. I think there was only I was thinking that Iowa would be the only one or one of the few left standing with 2 teams before they flopped, before the men's team flopped. So they're probably the best. Other than Michigan, Michigan brought both teams. Michigan has 2 teams left in, I think, still.
Okay.
Yeah, Michigan's got they're going up against Baylor though, so it'll be a little tough for them to keep it moving.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, oh man, I just had it.
I'll shout out you shouting out that I was gonna go into you talking about Elgin Baylor.
Yeah. That was
I did. Yeah, I fashioned a little thing for it on our Substack, but you inspired me in that case. But
I saw that. I appreciate that, man. It was it was surprising how much that one hit, because a while back I just started watching, like, finding clips of old basketball, like, just to watch, and people have uploaded full games from the 60s. A few of those Celtics-Lakers final series. And it's funny watching, because between the foul circles is probably the biggest difference in the game. There's no three-point line. You couldn't switch hands when you dribbled. And there's a lot more inside-outside passing, and just like, a lot cuts in the way that you wouldn't cut now because of the way you can pass. But below the foul line, the game is really similar. The way that guys like that last couple runs to the basket, the gather step, behind the back passes, just looking for the shot close to the rim. A lot of that's the same. And watching Elgin Baylor, even when you watch guys like West and Havlicek and Russell, Oscar Robertson, Sam Jones, Dick Barnett, the jump shots are a little off. You had a lot more guys taking the hand off and pulling up like here, but jump shots still got the same arc, man. It's really cool to see how much that's translated. And I started watching that same Elgin Baylor video that everybody posted in 2014 or 15, and I would watch it like every couple of months because it was really, really magical. Just watching the stuff that he did. And the way
he
that
looks so great playing.
It's graceful.
Yeah.
It was so, and you realize that those cats were playing on actual hardwood and Chuck Taylors. That was it. Chuck Taylors and like 2 pairs of socks.
Look, and Chris, remember in The Last Dance when Jordan tried to play in the Jordan ones,
right?
And how
his feet were bleeding.
effed up his feet were. Yes. Imagine playing on Chucks and like I say on hardwood, on actual hardwood.
Right.
They got that stuff from they got them things from the nearest forest somewhere. Just chop the things up and lay the things down. Tack sticking out them and all, man. They ain't do nothing nice to them floors.
Bro, and no AC. Like AC in those days was so different.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have more than two brothers on the court at the same time.
You had cats in there smoking cigars in the stadium, cigarettes, Red Auerbach puffing on a Cubano on the bench.
Yeah.
Cats behind the backboard. Yeah. And the wild thing to me is, like, you talk about those Chuck Taylors. People think that basketball was played like ballet back in the day. Nah, cats were still making the same hard cuts like you do right now with much better shoes. You look at any of those photographs of Oscar Robertson about to turn the corner, and you see where his foot is and his knee is and how hard he's pushing off. In Chuck Taylors, my guy, or some PF Flyers or some Spaldings. It's unimaginable. I remember a guy, Mark Grudgeon, that I went to high school with, said that in his like 8th grade team, his coaches got them some Chuck Taylors to play a game in 8th grade, and they played one game, and everybody was like, that was too much. We can't do that anymore. That's it. And you think about grown men doing that back in that era, and the stuff that they were still able to do. Like, somebody go out to a playground right now. I dare you. Go out to a playground right now with some green Chuck Taylors on and dunk it. And come down on that playground asphalt the way you normally would. Boy, your knees are gonna get that same thing when you hit a ball off the handle of the bat and you feel it all up in your wrist. That's what your knees are gonna feel like. Like somebody rang a bell on them boys.
Yeah, and you're gonna be walking on your heels the rest of the day too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can't be understated what Elgin Baylor did for basketball. The Lakers were trash before he got there. Like, Mikan was long gone. Nobody in Minnesota was coming out to see them. And I think the Celtics or somebody else offered the Lakers owner like 2 real big packages. No, the Knicks. The Knicks offered a lot for Elgin Baylor, and he was like, nah. And they also used that to move to LA. So think about that. No Elgin Baylor, or if that plane crashes when he was a rookie, you lose the Lakers in Los Angeles. Period. You lose the Lakers franchise for some period of time. Think about that Marshall college football team, and you lose so much of that history in basketball with that one moment. But just if there's no Elgin Baylor, there's no Lakers in Los Angeles, the team probably folds. And then you got no rival for the Celtics, and then you got Boston just clamoring at the top of everything, and nobody really wants that. It can't be stated. It cannot be categorized how much he did for basketball. And this is a dude who didn't win a ring until his final season.
Yeah, he was an amazing player, man. He was an amazing player and a monumental figure in the history of basketball. So yeah, y'all do the knowledge, man, and definitely check out our piece on Substack, War Ready, and check out all the other stuff that's out there, man. There's a bunch of stuff in his passing, obituaries and features and whatnot. Respect the legacy of that man, because he did a lot. Like Hov said, he did what he did so that y'all wouldn't have to go through that. The same could be said for Elgin. He went through a lot so that other brothers and other basketball players after him wouldn't have to go through similar stresses and strains. So definitely respect to him and RIP. And in regards, as we go out, in regards to respecting the legends and respecting the forefathers, Draymond, you are not the greatest defensive player of all time. And all this stuff about, and I don't know why Chuck trying to be cool, saying that Harden is way better offensively than Jordan or Kobe. Like, come on, man. Let's stop this. We got to nip these goofy storylines in the book. There's enough going on in basketball today. We don't have to get on this propaganda stuff. Y'all tried it with LeBron and it didn't work. Let's not do it with lesser players. Okay.
Or on a small scale, the whole Kyrie is better than Allen Iverson.
I've been saying that.
That too. Stop it.
Don't do it.
So that's all I gotta say.
White lines, don't do it.
Right. Yeah, stop. Whatever you sniffing, stop it. If you injecting something other than the COVID vaccine, stop that.
Please, the life you save may be your own. Please.
There's a reason why
the online,
I love Allen Iverson.
Online reputation.
This is why I had someone buy this for me at a young age, because Allen Iverson is that guy. I was able to shake his hand. Kyle was with us. He was able to shake the man's hand at All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Because
that's respect, man. That's respect.
That's mad respect. Don't you ever put Kyrie Irving in that category. Ever. I don't get this from Kyrie in the future. That's how you know. That's how you know. I need this. Right. I need this Kyrie. He may not have brought a championship, but gosh, it's because of you, he got that culture right. Now everybody wearing all types of crazy clothes. Thank you. Please, we gotta stop this. We gotta stop this. I just can't.
Right. I mean, look, we respect Kyrie, we respect Draymond, we respect all these players, man. But y'all don't have to put yourselves over the greats just to be appreciated, man. All you're doing is playing yourself in the end, man. Just appreciate what you're doing right now. And we appreciate that. And just appreciate the fact that you got more time to further your legacy. Work on that. Don't be putting yourself over like you a wrestler or some rapper or something who talking about they the best alive, and everybody knows that Rakim ain't dead yet. Nas ain't dead yet. So quit saying you the best alive when these other folks are still walking and breathing.
You had me heated for a second. I'm like, yo, Rakim is not dead. Rakim still wraps circles around a lot of y'all cats out here, man.
Yeah. So just think of that in regards to everything, whether it's hooping or whatever. Just think of that,
This is just
but that's what we go. That's our PSA for the end of the show.
Blasphemous.
Right.
Blasphemous.
Stop that blasphemy.
The audacity of these people.
Take him to church, man.
The audacity.
Right. Get your soul right. That's what we're going to leave it with this week, man. It's been another great one.
I've been struggling my whole.
Ran pretty hard on this one, man. This was a great day, though. It was a real fun day. I was really anticipating doing this show. I anticipated doing every Running with WARR, but this one I really was anticipating, and it turned out to be as great as anyone. We got a squad again in Chicago, so let's see how that goes, and let's see how the rest of this NBA season unfolds. We got a nice beginning to the end of things here with this trade deadline. A lot of stories are being reignited, new talents being moved around. Let's see what impact they'll have on the hunt for this latest championship. So that's it for now. Like I said, Josh said he's got new ITS coming out tomorrow. If you want to hear some more talk on the tournament, definitely check that out. on WARR on Anchor and WARR on YouTube here. And yeah, Drew, Chris, anything else you guys want to shout out before we go?
Nah, just everything that's going on in this country, man. You still gotta look out for number one, protect yourselves. Don't let your guard down just yet, y'all.
You gotta protect your neck.
Give a hand up to the next person. Stay vigilant, man. There's a lot of things going on that might not help you. I don't mean to say this like counteracting Drew at all, but there's a lot of things going on there that might not help you personally, but they're going to help people around you who you're intertwined with. So keep your eyes open, man.
That's a good point there. I've said that on another show. Like, yeah, don't be acting like just because it ain't me or it ain't my people that that I shouldn't be active in trying to protect others. Yeah. Like I said, I try to say it with almost every show. Like, do something, protect yourself, protect someone else if you can, man. Because all we got is each other. If we can rely on each other more, we'll be a stronger community and stronger society. So definitely keep that in mind, But that's it for now, though. WeAreRegalRadio.com, WARR on Anchor, WARR on YouTube, WARR Media on all the major platforms. Search us and subscribe. Pass us, if you like what we do, pass it along to your friends and family or whatnot. Shout us out online. Show us love. We show it right back. Follow these good men under their tags there where you see them out in these internet streets. And yeah, that's it for now. We'll be back next week with another fun-filled, adventurous episode of Running with WARR. Until then, keep bouncing.